So the SAG-AFTRA strike situation has gotten even crazier, and especially in the Hoyoverse space. Now, this was a tweet that came out a couple of hours ago from Allegra Clark, the voice actor for characters like Acheron and also Beidou, which are two Hoyoverse games, or, obviously Genshin Impact and Honkai Star being the two Hoyoverse games. And so obviously Allegra Clark is very familiar with how Hoyoverse kind of operates, and they've been talking about this quite a lot over on their Twitter. And essentially they say, if we come to an impasse on SAG negotiations and work leaves the US, which is already happening, you know who else gets screwed over? Production, studios, engineers, casting directors. It's not just about the acting, there's an ecosystem built around us, which, yeah, I definitely think is true. I think that obviously if there are less voice actors over in the US and they're kind of outsourcing to other people, then a lot of these kind of productions and studios are going to go out of business and or move over to different countries, which obviously is then going to, drive a lot of people away from, voice acting over in the US. They say people are more than welcome to have their concerns about the contracts, but by striking, you're not just asking me to stop working, you're asking everyone who works on the project to stop. Almost a year in, their livelihoods are struggling as much as, if not more, than ours. This is hurting the industry so deeply. Anecdotally, everyone I know on the other side of the glass is stressed and scared. I can always go to the cons, but can your favorite director or engineer, what about them? Do they have to drive a lift to keep their lights on? Which again, yeah, I definitely think is true. Obviously, with Allegra Clark and a lot of these other voice actors, they do have a little bit of, I guess, fame. I'm not saying that they're the most famous people on earth, but they do have a lot of notability. Obviously, they're like, oh damn, you're the Acheron voice actor, whatever. And obviously, they will get invited to cons where they can get paid, they can sell stuff or whatever, and it's much easier for them. Or they can start a YouTube channel or whatever, and obviously get a little bit of a boost because they already have an established audience type thing. Whereas these sound engineers and stuff, obviously, they're not so famous because they're just in the background doing stuff, and it can be a lot harder for them in terms of getting a lot of, the money that they need. And as I said, they might have to go and drive Lyft or whatever as like a part-time thing to get some money. Now I said before, and I'll say it again, we need to get back to work compassionately. I ask for not only us, but for our colleagues in production who work with us daily. And to be clear, there are projects signing to the interim, but enough projects won't, the floor is going to fall out pretty hard. And non-union is leaving us too. The effect is rippling through the whole interactive space. So essentially, Allegra Clark over the past couple of days has been advocating very heavily for SAG just to get an agreement here. If you don't know, SAG had a best and final agreement kind of presented to them, which they ended up turning down, which Allegra Clark was not happy about. And I totally understand that, because I think a lot of these voice actors, they want to get back to work. A lot of the AI protections are already in place. A lot of the stuff that, obviously like people like Corina have been trying to spout are completely false. And people like Allegra Clark are just wanting to go back to work and wanting to make money again so that they can, live. And obviously, I think a big kind of response to this, and the same thing for like Corina and stuff like that, is the fact that, as a voice actor, it's usually a side thing unless you've got like a really, really big role, which pays good. And so, sometimes it does come with the kind of acceptance that maybe you do need some other job. And obviously it seems like Allegra is doing completely fine here with cons and stuff. And, they found their own way of making money on the side while they're not, recording in a booth. But yeah, it seems like some people obviously do struggle with that. And they do have to come to terms that, maybe they do have to get another job outside of voice acting. And obviously it keeps on going with, for example, some people are even actually making audition pieces to become the next Paimon, including Proxy Moron, who essentially recorded a whole thing about this, which I thought was quite funny.
I'm Zoe Khan, also known as Proxy Moron on the internet, and this is my audition for the voice role of Paimon from Genshin.
By the way, I don't know why she did this on YouTube. You should really just send them an email. I feel like it's more professional and they'll do it more. But here is essentially the reel that they kind of put out here.
I enjoyed recording it.
Paimon is not emergency food. And you. Did you really just borrow the Holy Lyre to play music for drunkards to hear? What do you mean, Hey, so, Paimon thinks this guy's got a screw loose. On second thought, maybe we don't need to know. It's probably...
So yeah, essentially that's it. I mean, it's like a whole 6-minute video of like how, doing some lines from the game and whatever. And obviously people are very, happy about this. They're saying, damn, she sounds really good. I'd be ecstatic if she got the role. And honestly, I do think she sounds pretty good. Lots of people were skeptical about this video because obviously they're like, you know, I don't really feel like it's a good voice. But at the same time, I think we got to remember that Paimon is always going to be pretty annoying. They're never going to, you know, suddenly turn them into like a normal human voice where it's just like, you know, very monotone and boring. I mean, they're always going to have that very light and kind of high-pitched voice, but honestly, I think this is a much more bearable way than how Corina has been doing it after the past couple of years. So again, a lot of people say she sounds perfect, you know, I like that she's got more sass and less squeak, which, yeah, is definitely true. Every line sounds like a cheerful Mickey Mouse. While I generally like voices like that, there's no emotional depth and variety to it. Sorry, but she's not fit for the job, so that person didn't like it. They say 1.0 Paimon sounds better. I think the replacement, if it happens, should try and get close to the 1.0 voice. Not that great, to be honest. Yes, she has less squeal, but I think it's because she's trying to copy Paimon instead of making her own interpretation. So I want Corina gone as much as the next person, but this does feel weird considering we haven't had any official announcements that the VA is being replaced. And obviously, yeah, I do feel like it's a little bit weird coming from this person. I don't think that they are a like established voice actor or anything, but they are, you know, trying to become one. And you know, obviously people talk about scabbing and stuff, and I feel like it does feel a little bit weird just trying to like take their job just straight up and just like being so open with it. But, you know, I'm, you know, very happy to welcome someone like this to kind of replace the voice actor for Paimon. But that person down in the comments was very true, because obviously I came across this post as well saying, remember folks, it's too early to celebrate about this. And obviously, yes, we saw in the interview with Paper Bag Boy about the whole, you know, they were saying that they were gonna not come back unless they turned union. But I think we got to remember as well, Hoyo or Genshin Impact have not said anything about the Paimon's voice actor leaving. Obviously, Corina confirmed some things, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that, you know, they're 100% gone. You know, there's much of a chance that they could come back. Maybe they work out some kind of deal, or maybe, you know, some other stuff could just happen where essentially, you know, Corina just doesn't go through with it. And, you know, maybe even it's a plan, you know, maybe they just straight up lied and said, hey, you know, I'm not coming back, even though that might not be the case. Because let's be real, this isn't the first time that Corina has lied and has twisted a lot of things to kind of manipulate the audience. So again, it's going to be really interesting to see if Hoyoverse or Genshin Impact actually do release anything in the patch notes. We recently had an announcement post from Genshin Impact pretty much announcing the next version of the game. So obviously we're going to be getting patch notes alongside that. Now, I don't know if it's going to be as soon as this update that we're going to see any kind of changes to Paimon's voice, or if we're going to see any kind of removal of Paimon's voice from the game and just maybe have like a mute Paimon, which honestly might be better. And maybe that's the case. But again, it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe it'll be another version further down the line. And also people are wondering what's going to happen, because obviously Genshin Impact has been going on for years now. And obviously that's a lot of lines to replace, you know. I don't know if they want to go back and actually replace everything from version 1.0 all the way to current version right now, which is what, like 5.7 or whatever. So again, I don't know if Hoyoverse are going to take out the resources and are going to hire this, you know, new voice actor to voice every single old line, or if they're just going to make them continue on from whatever version they're at, maybe even the start of 6.0. I don't really know, but I think it would be easier for them to do it from a newer kind of version, because again, you know, Paimon's voice has changed over time anyways, so it shouldn't be that much of a difference as long as the voice actor does sound somewhat similar. But obviously, hopefully not too similar to the point where it gets absolutely, you know, unbearable. But yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on at the moment. I thought it's very interesting. Obviously, Allegra has been speaking up about this quite a bit recently, so I thought it was quite an interesting topic to talk about, as they are a very big voice actor whenever it comes to the kind of Wuthering Waves space. Not Wuthering Waves space, Genshin Impact space. Sorry, I'm in my Wuthering Waves brain. I just made a Wuthering Waves video. But again, so yeah, go watch that. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, go over to GameSubs, use my code KAZA, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. I definitely recommend checking out all the events that they got on, because, again, they've always got something on over on the website. So go take a look. Go use my code KAZA, which will be down in the link in the description down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.